Hey guys, welcome back to TFS. I'm Rebecca, and this is my co-host Chelsea.
Hi.
We're back again with Laura, and this is part 2 from the other episode. She's the owner of Talisman and Cauldron.
So, Miss Laura, tell us, why would somebody come in for a psychic and intuitive reading?
Usually, they're grappling with something. Most often career, financial issues, problem child, issues in the marriage, or they just want to connect with someone, and this is mediumship, they want to connect with someone who's passed. So there's intuitive counseling, intuitive reading, and then there's mediumship. Sometimes they can be done together. I've got some wonderful readers that do both. Mm-hmm. They'll be reading the cards as they're talking to spirit, or they'll pause, stop, someone will come through, they'll deliver a message. But most often, they're looking for one or the other. They're looking for some sort of answers to what's going on in the future, or they want to connect with someone who's passed, make sure that they're happy, make sure they're okay. Sometimes just you miss them so much. You know how it is
right.
when you've lost someone that you love. It's
horrendous.
You just want that moment, that reconnection. And so when someone can give you clear, concise, detailed information, how that person passed away, what they're wearing, what they did. I'm laughing to myself. There's so many stories that just popped in my head at once. I had one experience with my daughter in the shop, actually. I had a woman come in, a young woman. She was about 24 years old. This is probably 6 years ago. And she asked for a reading. And when she sat down, and my daughter was only 9 years old at the time. About 9 is when I started having them. Daisy. It was Daisy. She was little. I just watched the front of the store. We were sitting in the room. And when the young woman sat down, she said, Are you one of those people that talks to ghosts or dead people? I said, Oh, sweetie, I'm not. I said, I do cards, I do palms. I said, she goes, Oh, I was really hoping to talk to somebody who died. I said, Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I said, But I'll throw some cards. I won't charge you. I said, maybe something will happen, something will come through. So we're sitting, we just start talking, and all of a sudden I hear a little knock on the door there, and I hear, Mommy, can I come in? I said, Yeah, Daisy, come on in. She comes in and she goes, Mom, there's a man out here. And I said, I didn't hear the door ring because there's a bell on the door. And she goes, No, not that kind of man. I think it's a ghost or like a spirit. I said, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, talk about homegrown talent. But I'm being really calm, like, Oh, well, Daisy, what does he look like? What are you seeing? And she describes this person. And the girl just goes, Sounds like my dad. That sounds like my dad. And I said, okay. I said, Daisy, did he have a message? Does he want to say something? And she goes, he does. He wants to say that he's really sorry. He didn't expect it to happen so fast. But it's okay. He's not mad, and don't worry, and he loves you, and he's always nearby. And with that, now the girl starts to sob. Like, she just breaks out and she just starts crying. Daisy gets really scared and she thinks she did something wrong. I said, Dave, you didn't do anything wrong. Go out there. I'm going to talk to you in a minute. I said, Is he gone? And she goes, He's gone. I said, Okay. Delivered the message. It's good. So she's like, oh my God. She couldn't have known. Like I'd never said anything to you. I said, No, what happened, sweetheart? What is it? She said, My dad went in the hospital 2 weeks ago. And he went in for something very routine. I was staying with friends in upstate Connecticut. And they said, Don't drive down at night. It's okay. Come in the morning. It'll be fine. My dad died. I never got to see my father. And all this time for the past 2 weeks, all I could think of is my dad must be so angry. I didn't even visit him. I didn't leave. I should have come down. She said, He's right. He wasn't expected to die. He wasn't expecting it to happen so fast. He just died. But that's the validation.
She needed that.
And of course, it was my kid. But we've heard so many stories like that. And it's so true mediumship is a gift. And
so your daughter has this gift.
She does do it. Yes, she does. There's been a couple of times where there's been kids that died in school that they've called her kind of down into the crisis room to talk to some.
Oh my God, I didn't know.
No, well, it was a surprise to me too.
Wow.
Yeah.
It really is in the family.
It's in the family, I guess.
Oh my God.
But one thing we don't do is and I don't have anyone in my shop talking about readers. No one in my shop is reading, including my own child, under the age of 35, who hasn't been reading professionally for at least 10 years and who hasn't read me. So they've told me something about myself, my business, my children, that they couldn't know any other way. And that's how they're reading. But no one can read everybody. If someone says that they can, they're lying. It's all about the communication. I worked in food services for a while, and a plate of food that's perfect for you, perfectly seasoned, perfectly great, would be all wrong for you. And reading's the same way because it's about communication. So I talk very fast. I can talk a mile a minute. Other people are very slow. They'll repeat themselves. But that's how some people need to hear it.
Right.
They get excited. They don't hear the message. We encourage people to tape, write notes. Have a friend come in to take notes for you. But that's what makes it legitimate,
Right.
and it brings ethics into a area of the business. And I do have a legitimate, gift shop.
Right.
But it bringing ethics into a very esoteric line of work where people have been taken advantage of over and over. When you hear someone say, oh, that's all crap, it's all bull, it's all on the take. That's not true.
Because your line is a little tricky. There's a lot of fake, and you
There
happen
is.
to be one
But
that is
I put
very
out a newsletter
honest
once a
and-
month that goes out to 4,000 people, and it gets further forwarded all over the world. And in the newsletter itself, I actually script how to end a reading. I actually script how to say, within a few 5 minutes, you should know. This isn't working out. This isn't resonating. And I started doing that when I opened, and people were going to see readers that were charging a lot more money. Mm-hmm. And I mean a lot. I mean hundreds of dollars for an hour of time. Mm-hmm. And they were coming like, oh, I've heard of him. Oh my God, was it amazing? Was it wonderful? And they were like, yeah, I guess. I'm like, you guess? Well, it didn't make sense. I'm like, it didn't make sense. Were they speaking a different language? Did it need to be translated to you? What was that about? Like, no, it just didn't. But he said it would make sense later. I'm like, later when? Like, how much later? But they take the money up front. We don't take our money till it's done. If you're not happy, you don't pay. It's just that simple. I don't anyone walking out of my shop thinking they wasted a half hour of their time or just blew $30. Right. And I do the $5 thing during the work week. I'm happy to do it. I'm there anyways. I get interrupted. Gifts are given, gifts are taken away. If something was given to you, I think it's a great thing to share with people. And the more the merrier. People on fixed incomes, college students, people who don't have, or they have a quick question, or they don't have the time to sit there for half an hour, or they're new to it. They just want to see what it's like. Well,
I feel like that's why God always blesses you, because you give back so much, and you're such a good person, and you help people through crises.
And it's win-win. Sometimes I'm backed up 12 deep, but people come in and they're comfortable. You're right. They are comfortable when they come into my shop. They'll say it's a different experience.
I feel like all my friends have been to you, and they all love you. I've never heard anything different than that.
Thank you. And I think because I really am praying for everybody every day. I'm on my knees twice a day. Once hoping that I won't say anything that'll be harmful or hurt somebody. And secondly, that people, I want to be wrong if I've seen something that isn't great. I don't want to be right. I want to hear that was averted. In fact, the only reason to say something that might be frightening or scary is to get to the doctor, get that checked out, or
to protect them,
or don't go out driving that night. That's sort of a forewarned is forearmed kind of thing. Right. So that's the purpose of that.
That's wonderful. So,
we just gotta wait till it.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
So, continuing on the conversation, what could you tell us about spirituality?
Well, first of all, we believe that all paths lead to the one. It's universal spirituality. So even though I'm a practicing witch for over 20 years, most of my patrons, or I would say probably 3/4 of them would call themselves mystic Christians. People that follow the path of the Christ, which is a beautiful path. But they're open to divination, past life, energy work, a lot of yoga teachers, a lot of Reiki masters, a lot of Buddhists, Hindus. Many people are reinvestigating and relearning about the native path. Here in North America, that's the Native American path. But the shamanic paths, which is the oldest spiritual path. So where you have Christianity that's 2,000 years old, Hinduism is roughly 14,000, Buddhism 10 to 12,000, shamanism 30,000. Wow. So people are looking at, when you peel the onion, what is the basis of spirituality? And looking at nature-based religions. Now, back in the 70s, Wicca was a knee-jerk to feminism, women's lib, way before your time, and really before mine too, I have to say. Thank you. Before me too. But women's lib and the idea that I don't need a man and a feminine power, and we'll pray to a feminine goddess. And that was good. It was well and good. We tend to actually more balance and believe in God and goddess, that together that creates the whole. But now fast forward into this time where the environmental crisis is so very real. We're looking at a time where people, well, the Gaia project proved that Mother Earth is sentient. The Earth itself is sentient, has thoughts, and is self-preserving. There is that fear that, in fact, if we become more like a parasite or a virus, human beings themselves may be eliminated simply because we may have outstayed our welcome if we can't treat where we eat, sleep, and breathe with some degree of reverence.
Makes sense.
Well, just like lemmings, going over the cliff. We're racing in that direction. But the spiritual component of that really is more about nurture of the earth. Because, see, I do believe that's the direction we're going in, is a nurturing, caretaking, and the farmers markets, and the desire for naturopathic medicine. That all speaks to that. So I'm hopeful. I don't want to appear negative. I think we can swing it this way.
That's why we feel so at peace and at one when we're near the water or when we're hiking or when we're in the forest, because we're like bonding with nature.
And we're close to the divine.
Right.
If everything was created by the divine, then everything is divine. Right. So when you talk about energy, well, why would this stone have energy? Everything has its unique energy. Now, in the Native American traditions, they talk about stone nation, and the idea that the stones have been around so long, they no longer need to speak or move. They just are, and they contain a wealth of knowledge. Furthermore, quartz crystals are seen as being record holders in the Lemurian and the Atlantean legends, which some people hold are real. The idea that those were energy generators. Now, we know they are energy generators because they're used in quartz crystal sets, they're used in watches, they amplify energy. Mm-hmm. So when you're using them to direct energy, they often tip a wand. They'll be on the top of the wooden wand, but they help move energy along. Versus something like a black tourmaline in that room rebalancing kit we talked about, black tourmaline that actually transmutes negative to positive. In Japan, and they're huge on stonework there, they actually grind black tourmaline into powder, put it into house paint, and they'll paint the walls with it. Wow. So that it actually is in the energy. It's amazing. They make gemstone elixirs where it sits in water, spring water, 12 hours, then you drink it in the morning. Citrine is supposed to help lose weight and energize you. So it's...
I'll be taking some of that.
We're all drinking
I will
our
want some of
water.
that.
So that's energy and spirituality. And I think people are exploring this as systems fail. And systems are failing. We're watching the failure of the education system, the banking system, our government. And we're not just in the United States, we're watching it globally. We're really watching things that we thought would be forever falling apart. What it boils down to is what matters is family and faith. So people are tribing up. We're seeing people who left Connecticut a few years ago, guess what? They're coming home. We're seeing people buying 3 and 4 family houses. And my grandmother used to say those houses were never 4 different families. It was the same family. Grandparents lived on one floor, the parents on the other, the kids on the other. You cooked for each other. There was always someone there to watch the children. It's a different way of life, and it's a way of life that really worked. We do better when we're tribal, and we do better when we're there to help each other. Just like why people pair up. Why do people marry? Why do they bond? Life is easier. It's easier with 2 people. Absolutely. Easier to raise a family, but even when someone is sick, you have someone take you to the hospital. Or your car breaks down, someone's there to drive you to work. When you have a real partner by your side, life is easier. So in terms of spirituality, the idea of like minds coming together, people who believe a way, making it easier for the other person, it just makes sense. And this is really interesting to me, people are looking at the spirituality of their ancestors. So they're looking at, now shows like Vikings, so interesting. People are looking at that Norse tradition now. But they're looking at where their family came from. So your family came from Italy. Well, what part of Italy? And before it was Catholic or before it was Christianized, what did they believe there? And it was about 15 years ago that the Diet of the Ancestors became popular. It was the idea that your cell memory, we talk about past life regression, but that's more of cell memory. The idea that our bodies remember what's good for us, what nurtures us, what nourishes us. So if we're from Japan, we know that there's a heavy rice, vegetable, and fish diet. Now, the Japanese people have changed their diet. They've become more Americanized. They're eating a lot of really fatty meat. And guess what's happening in Japan that never happened before? Heart disease.
Like cholesterol.
Cholesterol and
like
heart
that.
disease in Japan never happened before. So that's great when you're of an ethnic group that you've never left an island. But here, where we're so homogenized, we're all over, and people are into the DNA testing and where are we from? Where are we from, and what did we believe? How did we worship before another?
Makes so much sense.
It does, and it resonates.
And the base of everything is love.
The base of everything
It
is
is.
love and family
Because
and faith.
with family comes love, with friendships, with a partner. It's love, the base of it all.
God is love. I think at the end of the day, perfect love. Most of us are not capable of perfect love. On that line of thought, though, when we talk about hell, you don't have children yet. I have 4. And someone once posed the question, you're not God. You don't think you're God. I'm like, I don't think I'm God. Not capable of perfect love, not capable of perfect knowledge. Is there anything that one of your kids could do that would make you so angry that you would damn them to an eternity of fiery horror?
No,
What could your
right?
kid do?
Oh my
Nothing.
god.
And you're not God. So
Yeah.
why would a loving God Father do that to one of his or her children? It doesn't make sense. Hell was designed. No, I'm sorry. It was designed by the church, and it doesn't exist in other religions. The idea of punishing you to keep you afraid. So we like to eliminate the fear. And one area, and I get really angry in terms of going back to unethical psychic behavior. The idea of telling someone that they're cursed or they're hexed. The idea of telling someone, and then they have to buy these stones. You have to have a candle. You have to have a bath. And those things always cost so much money. So the idea of extortion. Why do people get psychic readings? Why do people come into the shop? They come in to get help. They come in because nothing else has worked.
But I don't understand how people don't believe in karma. For me, I don't understand how people don't feel guilt if they know that someone's going through an awful time and they're charging them all this money and they're expecting this from them and maybe they can't afford it. They're not thinking about karma and they're not thinking about upsetting God. I don't understand that.
No, because
There's no fear.
because there's a sense of entitlement. We joke in circles that people forget that they're channeling the goddess, that they're not actually the goddess.
We're just the tool. We're God's tools, right? On earth.
Well, actually, no. We are actually sons and daughters of the divine. We are divine. If we are, that was the Christ message. We are all the sons and daughters of the divine. So
But
we do
anything
carry.
good, but anything good that we have, that we carry, we thank God for it because He blesses us with whatever we have. It's not really from us, right? Isn't it like a blessing?
Free will, Chelsea. You can choose to go in whatever direction you want to go in. And who's to say that someone else's negative act doesn't force another reaction that puts somebody where they need to be?
That's true.
So it's again, I'm not
adjustment
Christian, but when you look at the story of Christ and the crucifixion, someone had to hand him over.
Yeah.
Someone had to make that happen. Someone had to be the tool that made that
So
happen.
like we're all here for a reason, basically.
Everyone, good and bad. You're
and
here
whatever I
to
do
be a
affects you and
lesson
affects her.
or a blessing. So
right.
whatever you want to be.
I
You
hope
can
I
be a,
only attract blessings. I think I do.
It doesn't mean then you never learn. But you can be a horrible warning or you can be a great example. So you pick where you're gonna go.
Yeah. No, that's true. So, what do you think would inspire someone to do magic?
Often it's the desire to get out of a bad situation.
I remember once I came into your store and I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "Laura, what are those little coffins?" They were like a little bit scared. I was a little intimidated, and I remember what you told me. You want to tell everyone?
You tell. Go ahead, Chelsea.
You said, "Oh, Chelsea," you said, "those are for women or men who want to get out of a really, really horrific relationship to put kind of the kibosh on it."
I'm not Christian. And I don't necessarily believe in forgive and forget. And I don't necessarily believe in turning their cheek. There's times when someone really does hurt us and they give us an eloquent apology and we forgive. But there are people out there, there are psychopaths, there are narcissists, there are sociopaths. When you say, oh, it's okay, that's just their cue to do it 10 times harder and more.
Right.
You know, there is a sense of a moral code where, you know, you stop someone. Look, we all love animals. We love dogs, right?
Right.
But when you have a dog that's habitually attacking and biting, for the good of the group, you say that dog needs to get put to sleep. Dog can't be controlled. Well, we have people who are like that. And I really don't believe that they should be allowed to go on destructively, wrecking havoc. And everyone has to take on their own karma. Everyone has to take on their own. But when you have, I'll give you a great example. A woman came in, was getting divorced, terrible custody battle. She found child porn on the computer. She found it, and she actually was so upset, she actually unplugged the hard drive. Yeah. This is not a laptop, but a hard drive. Brought it to the police station and said, "This is my husband's hard drive." Looked at it and said, "But there's not enough. There's not enough there." And she goes, "How much child porn do we need to have on a computer?" How about the story about the judge? This was a few years ago in Connecticut. The wife begged, "Please do not give the baby to my husband. Please do not do this. He's threatened to kill the child. He's been abusive." Oh no, they've been abusive to you. Doesn't mean he's going to be abusive to the child. You're trying to obstruct the affections of the father. And what happened? No. The first time they had the baby, he threw that baby over the bridge. You can check this. It's a well-known story. That mother begged the judge, and that judge wasn't even removed from his seat. That judge is still a judge. Now, I'm sorry, you think that you want to wish love and light on someone like that?
No.
On the judge or the father?
No.
By all means, go ahead. I won't be. I'll be working behind this to stop it, to shut it down. I really don't care what happens, because it's one less asshole in the world.
Yeah.
And I really believe that.
No, it's true.
So, I'm not afraid of my karma. You take care of yourself, and you mind your own karma. I'm not afraid of mine.
Well, because you work for the greater good.
I hope so. But it's not that person's greater good.
Well, no.
I'll squash them like a bug. I don't care. So it's really, what is the greater good? And we all have to answer that question for ourselves. Karma isn't something that takes place in one lifetime. It takes place over eternity. Karma is a very big word.
Do you think where we're placed in each life defines what our previous karma was?
We choose our script before we come here.
Our
we actually write our blueprint. We
right?
write our script. Mm-hmm. And we choose the people that we're going to bring in for this particular play. But there's always variables. You know? There's always variables. I think we'll forget that karma was sort of bastardized by the Catholic Church and turned into original sin that could be washed away, where honestly karma needs to be worked off by dharma. The acts of good that we do without expecting a return. That's dharma. Right. And it's something that takes a lifetime, and the idea is you come into each lifetime with a little less karma, and you continue doing dharma until you've eliminated all of that debt load that we carry. And we all carry it. We've all done things. Right. But we don't believe it can just be washed away. And again, I'm not disrespecting anyone's beliefs. I'm not suggesting that my belief should be your belief. But I am suggesting that religions that are much older than Christianity had these concepts. And it just required a little more work.
No, I do believe in that.
But it's also why I've moved away from New Ageism, which I love. Being from Southern California, I love New Ageism. And I moved more into mysticism, because New Ageism itself has become sort of a pablum, sort of a feel-good thing. If you feel like a shaman, well, you're a shaman. You must be a shaman. You say you are, you know? Maybe you were one in a past life. Well, now you are one now. It doesn't matter that it's not your ethnicity.
It's
and we
like
talk a lot.
Stuff.
It's also like wannabe stuff. It's why I don't like The Secret. The idea, if you just ask enough times, you'll get it. If you believe in a deity that knows more than you know, again, capable of knowledge and love that you're not capable of, and you're praying to a deity, then I guess it stands to reason that sometimes that they're going to see things so far out, like a chessboard that's played on so many levels, with all the moves already figured out, where we can maybe on our best day go 2 or 3 or 4 out. Even a chess master can only go so far out. Over lifetimes, that maybe that deity knows a little more than we do, and is directing us a little bit better than we can direct ourselves.
Right. That makes sense. I get it. I see from your side. I'm getting it. That's amazing. Well, you're such a wealth of knowledge.
No. I'm passionate, and I've spent my whole life doing this since I was little. I've always loved theology. I've always asked people what they believe, why they believe it, why they think that way, why they pray that way. But the idea that anything goes, to me is just as dangerous as someone who says, I'm going to direct negative energy, I'm going to curse you, I'm going to hurt you. Both ideas are equally bad.
Right.
You know?
No, it makes sense. Wow, it's amazing. It's just so much to process all this.
I just got a lot of information.
Yeah, it's great.
Well,
We're going to have
thank
to
you.
do a part 3.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
We're
great.
definitely
I
gonna
would
have to
love
do a
to.
part
Thank
3.
you so much, guys.
Yes, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for coming on.
My
This was
pleasure.
great.
My pleasure.
That's it today. See you guys.
Bye.